Seeing large collection amounts, I'd like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add an executive session for discussion of potential litigation regarding collections on commercial multifamily accounts. Amending the agenda requires a unanimous vote, as I think everybody here knows. So do we have a motion to amend the agenda to add an item for executive session to discuss potential litigation regarding collections on commercial and multifamily accounts?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We will add that.
And Chairman, where would you like to add that to the agenda?
I would like to add that at the end of the, everybody gonna be able to be here for the full meeting?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to add that, once we have finished the financial,
We have the discussion item, financial summary, and then we have action items. Would you like to add it after the action items? Or or immediately after the discussion item?
let's add it after the action items.
Okay.
Is it possible to leave it to the very end so people who
That's,
need
yeah,
to leave,
Yes,
leave?
that's
Yeah,
where we're
okay.
gonna be, right?
Okay.
Actually, so in that case,
Just repeat.
can we
No,
add it
no,
after
no,
public comment?
We can add it, it's best to add it immediately after the action items?
That's fine. We
Yes.
have the information items, which we don't need to discuss. So
We can
after the
discuss
action
it.
items, we'll take that up. Okay?
Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
With
now
that,
we have the discussion item, financial summary update.
right.
Gray?
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to be here to share an update on the January financials. We're staying very, very busy as usual. The audit starts up this month for fiscal 2022. All the major capital projects, we're staying busy with those. But for January, just to highlight a couple of the numbers. The water and sewer revenue were $21.5 million for the month of January, and expenses were about $20.4 million. The millage revenue, just a minor amount received in January. We'll start receiving that primarily this month. And we do see kind of a slow start with the amount of billings that have occurred, and then the cash collections, which I'd like to just go to the next page. And the number for January was quite low, as 16.4 million. Came back up in February, was 20.3 million, so rebounded some, but we did see lower collections. And investigating into that, we saw a few things, one of which seems like a consumer post-holiday syndrome, where we were paid less overall. In January, we did look at the number of bills that were done in December and saw a reduction or fewer than we normally would expect. And there was certain billing groups that were delayed with our in-house printing equipment. That you may recall, there was a contract to go to a third party, and that is now in place and being done as of very recently. But historically in December, January, we're seeing some of these issues that have occurred and caused some delay in printing and delivery. So, okay, this is a very important step in Renee's team has led this to get to a reliable, third-party system where we generate the billings, see it in our system, email them off, they will automatically get sent by the third party. So much more consistent, and it's going to bring a better process overall. Another important reminder, I guess we did have a carnival holiday, but we continue to do turnoffs, Monday through Thursday, the regular schedule. But again, to look back to 22, we saw lots of improvement in collections, so this will remain a focus area. I'll talk a little bit more about the past due collection report in a few slides. Next on the dashboard, I just want to highlight here, this is showing January 23, January 22. Our days cash on hand for water was 130, 188 for sewer, both above our targets. The preliminary debt service coverage shown on line 9 is 1.8 for water, 2.14 for sewer. Again, above our targets. Is based on our fiscal 23 budget that we approved, and then our scheduled debt service for this fiscal year. So no issues to note there. If there are any specific questions on numbers on the dashboard, happy to answer.
The receivables, I just note the receivables we've cut $23 million of the
Yeah,
medical allowance.
that's right. That's a big progress over the last year, so looking to continue that. The debt obligations, no major changes since December. We continue to spend down the bond proceeds for our major capital programs. And the next page on actual capital disbursements here on slide 5, we're showing $9.5 million was spent in the month of January, and we also had $22 million of new appropriations in the month of January, so that's going towards executing our fiscal 23 budget. So broken out about 11.7 million in water and 10.3 in sewer. So this, we'll continue to track these on a monthly and a cumulative basis. We can see the progress throughout the year. And on our grants report, we had about 11.9 million received, primarily under the JIRR FEMA project worksheet. So continue to progress with that major project. The next few slides are the routine customer service slides. Just was going to highlight a couple things. The calls in the month of January, 22,849. So up from December, good bit of activity going on. And then if I go forward to payments, this is where we started investigating into a lower number of payments received in January for some of the reasons that I was alluding to earlier, and that number has come back up in February, but January was low.
Okay, can I ask a question about the slide before that? Well, the slide before that, actually. Well, the slide before that. That slide. What would we expect customer calls and average wait times to be? It's impossible to discern a trend from that, those data right there. I just look at it and is that a question for a different place or what?
Yeah, Renee, you have any thoughts on just a general expectation?
Yeah, sorry,
Or goals maybe on?
yeah, I mean, we have our strategic goals and KPIs that we're trying to achieve. And I would say the biggest impact on the service level or the number of percent calls answered is staffing, first of all. Second, there's also other components unique to utilities. For example, if we have, even if we staff adequately, sometimes if you have outages, then suddenly the call volume goes significantly up, right? Outages, weather events, that sort of thing. But currently, the biggest factor that's challenging us to meet our goals is the number of staff.
Would it be helpful to put our goals, what we're looking for as bars on there? Yeah. And furthermore, what's going on with the staff, but that's a different discussion, I guess. And right now, I mean, how short-staffed we are or something, I think that'd be, not right this second, I think it'd be very useful to know that, because obviously there's a correlation between not having people here in customer service hitting or not hitting our goals.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the things that that are more within our control, for example, is what tools and resources we provide to our staff, right? So that's staffing, tools and technology, and we still on pace to get better into the customer relationship management system in place and implemented by June. So that'll enable reps to reduce their average handle time per call. So the abandoned call rate will decrease at that time. I mean, that's the expectation. We'll have.
Maybe it's operations committee work, Janet. But thank you.
Renee, I may have asked this before, the drop calls, I mean, either customers hanging up or once they're dropped, they're lost, right? There's no way to go back into the system to try to reconnect with those individuals, those customers?
I was actually going to make a similar question. So with the system that you're implementing by the summer, would it include a call number or a case number?
Like a call, yeah, it'll include a case number and it'll, I I believe it'll also include a callback option, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes when you call companies that have more advanced technology, they say the wait time is, 5, 6 minutes.
Right.
If you want, press 1 and we'll call you back. We'll have that option.
That's gonna be amazing,
Huge.
because
Yeah.
one
It's
of
huge,
the,
yeah.
yeah, one of the biggest issues is customers call, and one, they don't get a number, and they talk to different representatives, so there's no, there's no way to follow up, and it
Yeah.
creates a lot of frustration, so that's gonna be huge,
Mhm.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So let me pick up here on our regular customer past due balance report, and just want to highlight to the committee, this is the 60.9 million past due at the end of January. So the numbers were up about 7% relative to December, and this is driven by the commercial class, is up 4.2 million. So what we're seeing typically, and we do this every month with a top 100 report, that there is a group of customers that, it's a good chunk of money, about 20 million, held up in this top 100 group that are typically commercial, some multifamily, but basically non-responsive customer has received multiple notices, but is choosing to, basically put their cash flow needs ahead of ours, and either just delaying payment or ignoring us in some cases. So I've been, contacting these companies myself, as a matter of fact, and typically we see some type of question if they have, say, 20 accounts, where one of the 20 accounts, they may have some type of question, but the customer is choosing to withhold payment on all 20. Despite our, we remind all customers to pay a monthly amount every single month to have that pattern and regular behavior, and then also avoid getting in a hole or getting behind. So we're again, exercising all tools we can to get with these customers, get the responsiveness we need. And then we're also seeing in the multifamily environment of, a complex and kind of difficult collection situation. And that's because of the landlord essentially collecting rents from tenants and users, but not paying and not being responsive to our letters that have been mailed over and over to them.
And to
Why
be
aren't
clear,
they
the tenants
shut
don't have water meters. There's a single meter.
We have a master meter type situation, and the next steps are to take, legal action against the owner, and or also posting notices at common areas and providing a notice of a 10-day shut-off to get some type of response. So it's very costly, very time-consuming, but again, without responsiveness, that's the next step we have to take.
But don't we have a policy in place where, for these commercial accounts, for example, if they don't pay 2 months, they're supposed to be shut off?
Mhm.
That's the same logic, yeah.
Why,
That's part of the rules and regulations. When the normal collections were resumed, this particular area, we need to have a consistent process. We haven't had that historically, going back several years, even prior to the first moratoriums in 2018.
But part of the challenge is the volume that we can manage on a daily basis. We can't overstate and send letters that we cannot follow through and actually take action. So we have to kind of systematically manage or send a manageable size, right, or group per day that we can respond to. Same for residential. So the volume is much larger than we can just send it send all of them a notice today and just shut them off.
but if we have 100 that had been in arrears for a couple of years, surely we could have sent them by now.
Yeah, I'm sure there are pressures on us I can imagine if we turn off a multi-tenant unit because the owner doesn't pay the bill
Right.
and the people don't have water, had nothing to
But
do
that's
with it.
different from commercial.
I agree with that 100%. I think a review of our rules, and I think we need to go to an absolute enforcement. If we take criticism for not collecting and we're being pressured to not do that for whatever reason, I think it's incumbent on us to know what those rules are and to see to it that they're proper and that we follow them. I'm quite certain they're proper. They've probably been around for 100 years or more. Anyway.
Well, I mean, just to be clear, there will need to be a shift in how we manage these, and we're gonna have to be a little bit more assertive, if not aggressive. We have,
Are we not following our policy, I guess is
Well,
my question.
let me just finish the point. There's a lot of things to balance here. So take commercials. I think this is probably a newer trend that we're addressing. There's high consumption customers that we're tackling one at a time that impact the accounts receivable. But there's also the larger number of residential that overwhelms the same staff that has to manage all these notices and follow up and shut off and then turning the valves on when they come and pay and all that. So
Seems like it's a policy opportunity because we can't be held responsible for somebody's bad management. So if a business owner did not break the meters, they're holding a master meters and they're not being responsible with their accountability, how are we being blamed?
couldn't
Yeah.
agree more.
Yeah.
But it's puts us in a very tough position.
I understand.
Given the environment and all the criticism we receive, we're already a villain. We're going to be even twice as bad of a villain shutting people off who are not directly
Yeah.
contracting with us for water.
And I
So-
understand the context.
So if we have that consensus this morning from you that, hey, do what you need to do, I think it's gonna give us a lot of more comfort to move forward and be thoughtful, be kind, do all the right things the right way.
And just
but
to
we
set
gotta
the
do it.
record straight, I'm not, I sympathize for people that live in a place where, they have a manager that's not following up with their responsibilities. I'm very sympathetic with that situation. But at the same time, let's be clear with the narrative, whose responsibility is it?
The landlord is.
Exactly.
Right.
So that's my point. I'm not, I understand that it's going to be a very bad situation, but it's not a bad situation we put them in.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the landlord's gonna hear from his tenants. I know
Hope
it's,
so, we hope so.
And that's his or her responsibility.
It's just not fair to other customers.
it's not fair to
It's
anyone.
not.
It's just plain not fair to other customers, to people that just won't pay
Right.
their bills, because everybody else in the city ends up paying the price for it. So, especially with the commercial accounts, these are accounts that are set up so people can make money. And it's, you've got your basic bills you've got to pay your rent, you got to pay your water. If you don't make noise, they don't get paid.
And here's the other perspective. Who's subsidizing that? The rest of
We
the
are.
customers. Yeah. So that means I'm paying for somebody's bad management. I mean, that's unfair too.
I think we all agree people ought to pay what they owe, at least this forum does. But I do think having us take a look at what the rules are, just so we're familiar with them, so this committee knows what's going on with that. But absent anything that I don't see right now, it's my recommendation that we enforce our rules to the best of our ability. And I would say 100%, but we probably don't have the staff to do that. So I think we enforce our rules to the limit of our staff till we get everybody's either paying or turned off.
Yeah, and thank you so much for that. That's something that is music to our ears. While acknowledging the sympathy and the humane aspect of it, I think it's important to mention that the capacity issue is mostly a result of both of the moratoriums, right? The billing moratorium, after CSM implementation back in 2016 or 17, and then the constant COVID moratoriums, right? So when you have regular business, because accounts receivable was here, and
Right.
after both of the moratoriums that lasted years, now accounts receivables is over here, right? So we're not staffed here because utilities don't
The
staff.
moratoriums put us behind the eight ball, or whatever you want to say.
So what happens is that we have, and
Yeah,
I'm just gonna gauge the numbers here. We have capacity, let's say, to turn off 100 accounts a day, right? So we send, let's say, 200 letters because the intent of the letter is not necessarily to turn off anyone, it's to get customers to take some
pay.
action, right? So you send out a couple of 100 letters, 50, 60, maybe 100 customers pay, but the other 100 do not, right? So those 100 service orders to shut off go to our staff. That's their capacity. And it's the same staff that do the turn-offs and then the turn-ons, right? And then they also do some investigations work for bill dispute and that sort of thing. But I think it's always important to keep in mind that staffing in a regular world is not staffed for that amount of accounts receivables, right? And the point that you make, and you make, I guess everyone, is that in a public agency, whatever is not paid by one is being unintentionally subsidized by someone else. Yeah. And then the final component, I think that is of concern, and I think Gazan alluded somewhat to it, is the perception, community relations aspect, right? Because they haven't mentioned it, but some of our biggest debtors are, pretty popular, hotels, airports, other public agencies, that sort of thing. So there's a political, social, and economic component to all these disconnects, which is why it's important for us to get your support.
I think a couple of things. First of all, I think we have to be agnostic about who it is. If it's so-and-so's best friend, I'm sorry, tell your friend to pay the bill, but we're not gonna not turn it off. We can't do that. That's favoritism, obviously. Seems to me also that this committee, or I don't know if this is the proper way to do it, but I'd like to have a resolution that we do everything in our power to follow everything we're capable of in terms of collections. And maybe as part of that, I don't know a lot of things, but I don't know whether we're able to get some temporary help to do this outside of the regular system, because I see this as an exigent circumstance, if not an emergency circumstance. So perhaps we could bring in some temporary people without the normal system to get rid of this bulge in the snake that is a receivable. I don't know.
We just talked about that about a week ago, about bringing a couple of experts who can help us in the collection process, because it's it's very demanding, no doubt. And,
I'm sure. It's hard work, I'm sure.
Gray and Renee were gonna look at maybe temporary agencies and see what skill set we need and who's available and what we can do.
Do we want to make a resolution here today that we want to?
I think we could put it on either the next board meeting, the board meeting.
I want the finance committee to just
Oh, you want the
recommend to the board, or whatever the heck it is.
Yeah, we
This
could-
committee right here, right now, if you all are in agreement with that, if someone wants to resolve it, we do our best to collect according to our policies and show that's it. Anybody want to say that?
Well, do we need to include other conversations in other committees? Because it seems like Renette said, it's not just collect and that's it. There's other components to it, like operations, for instance. So I wonder if there needs to be a larger conversation.
Well, I was just talking about the finance committee saying we need to collect our receivables. The other committees can do what they need to do about it, but I'd like to do that now here. If you're all comfortable with that, if you're not, then we won't do that. But
Maybe we should add a couple more facts and challenges that we face, so you all have the big picture. So it's obviously we're talking about capacity, right? So when we start sending shut-off notices, some people respond and come and pay, and they go about their day. Some start a dispute process. They sit on their bills for years, and now when we say we're going to shut you off, they flag the dispute and they start a dispute process, which now adds another demand on our staff to either go and read the meter, check this, check that, whatever is needed to rectify.
Also, we can, I know there's some revisions that Gray and Renee would like to make to the board's policy and procedures regulations. So I think we could bring it to this particular committee and then have a resolution following.
all I'm saying is, let's follow the rules to the best of our ability. And I understand that it's going to place a burden, and I think that's why if you can bring in some outside people, you all are running the water board, not us. You know the best way to do it, but if it needs outside people, then let's get the outside people in here.
Okay.
Don't want to get in trouble with civil service or anything like that. But all I want to do is give you the encouragement, let's go after everybody that we're able to do within the rules. That's it. It's not rewriting anything, and if some recommendations come later, that's great.
And that of course is noted in the minutes, so we'll make sure it's noted in the minutes.
Let's vote on
Okay,
it.
so it's not just go out and collect this, you're empowered to collect, bring all the considerations and all the, whatever it is that you need to implement, whether it's additional capacity or there's some additional implications that we need to consider, that's a separate matter, right?
I think it's take the actions necessary to collect the bills in accordance with our policies.
No regulations.
So,
Yeah, I think that's well understood. We having a routine process that's done consistently, not an emotional thing. It's just done based on a business need, which is our need right now. Very important. So that continues to be a focus area.
Because we do have a process we just have not executed for a variety of reasons, right? Especially the moratoriums.
Nobody considered COVID and some of the things in the freeze and the
Yeah.
things that happened. I understand that. Again, this is just about, we want you to do the best job you can, put the politics aside that you might, whatever, do what you can do is to collect as per our rules and any resources that you could bring on. That's all this is.
Yeah, I think it's understood.
It's a statement of support.
Yes.
We appreciate that. I just also share with the committee, the 60.9 million we show here is a component of our total receivables that we focus on because of the past due status. But each month, so at the end of January, we have additional receivables. For example, the closed accounts is another 41 million. That's some very old receivables typically that are collected through third-party collection services. And then an additional 54 million, which is just your current bills, or as Ghassan mentioned, bills that are under investigation that are set aside and taken out of a normal collection cycle. All that totals to a big number, and then we have a reserve. We are required under accounting rules to provide an estimate for uncollectible accounts. So that brings us down to a net number of 26 million on our balance sheet at the end of January. The one thing we were looking at is on the closed accounts is taking essentially the permanent write-off that's done once you have no collection history of collecting after it had been done a 2-year basis, doing that in a more of a 4 to 5 month basis, because at that stage we would aggressively collect in those 4 or 5 months after closure, but beyond that period we don't really have a history of being successful there. We no longer have a customer relationship, so we go ahead and make that. It's an accounting entry. If it's already fully reserved, there's not a negative financial impact, but that keeps the total receivable from being inflated by that essentially old balance. So we're taking a look at that, and we do this typically on an annual basis in connection with the year-end audit, but we think that would more accurately portray total receivables and just capture reality. And we do reinstate customers that close an account, return to us, that balance gets reinstated.
Jan, did some?
I'm just wondering if we end up in, it seems there's a game that goes on at the end where people just don't pay the
Absolutely.
last couple months, which raises the question of whether we need to change our deposit policy so that we have something that covers that.
Absolutely. We looked at the deposit levels, typically the credit scoring type of process, but currently we have not changed that deposit number. I think that is something that should be done in the future. But it's a good point, and I agree.
One missing piece here is that our ability to go after somebody once they close an account, because it does not tie it to the property that we were serving. And that's very unique here, where it's a, call it a loophole, call it just a situation that favors the tenants as they move on and they choose to ignore their debt. If there's a connection to the property where we would always be tied to that property, and they would give us the ability to file a lien against it, or at one point goes on a tax roll somehow working with the city, there will always be that collateral that would help us collect. Otherwise, we are the actual collection process and effort is delivering us 2%,
Yeah.
if anything.
You have some students gives them their bill, you're never gonna get the money. They go back to Milwaukee.
They disappear. They go back to Milwaukee.
Establishing a trustee type of model where the property owner is who's responsible for the actual debt.
Right. I mean, the deposit idea, I think we currently collect $100, I believe. I mean, you cannot raise it too much where it's punitive for all the good customers who pay, and you're holding that cash.
It could at least be an average month's bill. It's more than $100, right?
If you notice, if you and this is from my previous experience at AT&T, right? So if you call Verizon, you call AT&T today, and you ask, to buy a cell phone, they're gonna run a credit check on you. That's the first thing they do, right? And based on your credit worthiness, you either get no deposit or get up to $500, $1,000 for a family plan for a deposit, right? That's not something that we've done here, I believe, in the past. I'm not even certain if our system has the ability, because I know in other utilities I've worked for, the system has the ability, like the internal billing system, to provide new customers a credit score, like a utility credit score, and the system, the algorithm, determines how much deposit you should pay before you get connected, right? But certainly $100 is not, it's not even like 1 month's worth of service.
Yeah, the complexity, I think, is that, water is a service for,
different, yeah.
it's
An
that human
essential-
right, an essential service for your livelihood, so.
But the deposit, I mean, it seems to me ideally would cover, if somebody doesn't pay, when it goes through the process, the deposit would cover that number of months, really, so that we can come out even on the other side of it, but
Yeah,
I think the credit score thing, I think that's gonna be
'cause it
wildly
can-
unpopular.
And it can be either a deposit or an advance payment, right? So the deposit stays tied to the account
Right.
for the,
Well, like the
typically-
landlord gets the first and the last month's rent from people who are,
Yeah,
they
but
don't
an advance
say.
payment, you could ask for an advance payment, and that maybe would be,
Yeah.
so much, a little bit more, and then that money is returned to credit to the account, as long as customer keeps making timely payments. So there's different options to choose from, I guess.
Tying to the property is gonna take legislation or something, that's, right, well. All right, we have more now?
That's, the comments I had prepared, Chairman, so happy, any other questions on January financials? But that's all we have at this time.
Thank you. That was informative. Thanks very much, Renee. Thanks for stepping in as well. We are now at the action items, General Superintendent recommendations, and I think we have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So the action items, the first category is the environmental audit. Take those two in global if approved. And this is our audit of our East Bank wastewater treatment plant as well as the West Bank wastewater treatment plant. This is an annual audit, and a report is submitted to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. So the first resolution is Resolution R021 2023, and that is the East Bank wastewater treatment plant municipal water pollution prevention environmental audit. So the board's wastewater operator, which is Veolia Water North America, completed the audit. Board staff reviewed the audit for make sure everything is correct, and the audit will be prepared and submitted to the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality. We're also, and this is an annual requirement, we're also putting a resolution issue we did this year, is we actually applied, we submitted a pre-application to the LDEQ for the East Bank is a $24 million loan through the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. So we are seeking additional funding to upgrade our facilities at the East Bank wastewater treatment plant, and also to maintain our permit requirements and associated with our discharge permits. So, and then in September, we did receive notice that the pre-application was processed, and it's placed on a priority list for funding. So again, the board and its contractor will continue our continued effort to reduce our sanitary sewer overflows in our collection systems. And General Superintendent's office asking the board to acknowledge receipt and review of this report associated with East Bank wastewater treatment plant, and which assures performance of any actions necessary to maintain the permit requirements. That's the first resolution. The second resolution is Resolution R022 2023, and that is actually the same. It's the audit associated with the West Bank treatment plant. So it's a different audit for the West Bank treatment plant. And again, our wastewater operator, Veolia, did complete that report. We also would like to acknowledge in the third whereas that LDEQ in June actually issued a compliance order to SWBNO, and that's relative, what they say, well, failure to operate and maintain all functions and systems at a treatment plant and control of the wastewater treatment plant and the collection system. Part of that is due to sanitary sewer overflows. The goal for LDEQ is to have zero sewer overflows, which, although that's a goal and that's an effort we're trying to make, but the West Bank, we had 2 sewer overflows in 2022. And just to let you know, in the East Bank, I have my notes here, we had 22 overflows in 2022. So those are reportable requirements that we do report to EPA as well as DEQ on a monthly basis in our bypass report. So I just wanted to mention that. But in December, for the West Bank, we did submit another pre-application for $15 million. Again, is to seek funding for it, the deficiencies in the compliance report, which is sewer overflows within the collection system, and also to maintain the permit requirements. And again, this past January, we did receive notice that the pre-application was processed and also placed on the priority list for funding. Again, the board and its contractor will continue to reduce sanitary sewer overflows within our collection system associated with blockages, force main failures, as well as whenever we have an outage on a sewer pumping station, which will potentially cause a sewer overflow. Again, the General Superintendent's Office is requesting the board to acknowledge receipt of the report associated with the West Bank wastewater treatment plant and ensures performance of any action necessary to maintain our permit requirements.
So with that in mind, may we have a motion to approve environmental resolutions R021 2023, R022 2023?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved, probably second on, any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None, motion carries. Thank you. And now, we have contract awards and renewals.
Yes, Mr. Chair, and I'd also like to take the contract awards and renewals. In global, there are 9 items. The first item is associated with Resolution R042 2023, and this is an administrative correction to a resolution that was approved by the Board of Directors last month. In essence, the contractor submitted the lowest, the correct bid, but the PM actually made an administrative error on the resolution last month, less $485. This resolution corrects that error, that the correct bid amount is in the amount of $3,446,750. So that is the resolution R042. The next resolution we'll discuss is R014, and this is the first renewal of contract 8166. This is associated with our repaving our open cuts and sidewalks and driveways resulting from the Sewage and Water Board underground utility repairs. As our crews do go out and make repairs, we have a contract, a third-party contract to do the pavement repairs. This contract is a base contract of 1 year, plus also 2 one-year renewal periods. And this is the first renewal of contract 8166. The contractor desires to execute the renewal, and the board has no objection with executing this first renewal. This first renewal will be in the amount of $1,247,050, and it will extend the contract for an additional 1 year. And it is, would like to note that the DB participation, the contractor exceeded the 36% by roughly achieving a little less than 72% of the work. So the General Superintendent's Office is asking for the first renewal of contract 8166. The next resolution we will discuss is Resolution R015 2023. And again, this is another first renewal of contract 30244. This contract is associated with cleaning and CCTV inspection of the sanitary sewer mains at scattered sites within Orleans Parish. Again, these are maintenance contracts by third-party vendors that assist our Networks Administration Department in CCTV and cleaning sewer lines. Again, this was a base contract of 1 year, plus 2 one-year renewal options at discretion of the board. The contractor, Compliance and Virus Systems, is desirous to execute the first renewal, and staff has no objections with that. There were no change orders associated with contract 30244. And this first renewal is in the amount of $641,498. The third resolution is associated with the award it's Resolution R017-2023. And this is the award of furnishing the ferric sulfate that's used in a water treatment system. 4 bids were received on February 1st of 2023. The lowest responsive and responsible bid was determined to be U.S. Alco, and a total bid of $2,646,380. And the General Superintendent's Office is requesting the board to approve the award of this contract to U.S. Alco. Our next resolution is Resolution R024-2023. This is the restoration of gravity flow sanitary sewer mains by point repair at various sites within Orleans Parish. Again, this is also another maintenance contract that's used with our Networks Maintenance Department. 3 bids were received on December 29th, 2022. The lowest responsible bid was determined to be Wallace C. Drennan in the bid amount of $3,444,020. And the General Superintendent's Office is requesting acceptance of this award. Next resolution.
I had a quick
Yes, sir.
question about that, which is just great. It's such a wide range. One of the low one is half of the is that, it just seemed like it was. Nothing much to say about it, it's just surprising.
You see that, I mean, we're not fazed by that. It's, it's could be capacity issue and,
That's correct.
impetus is like throwing a number.
But they'll
They
bid
don't
some-
need the work and
They
they
know they're not gonna get it, but they wanna bid anyway?
Yes.
maybe they're the only bidder,
Yeah.
It just
whatever.
seems crazy.
You drive yourself crazy trying to figure out what the contractor and community is trying to do.
And some of it could be new coming into the system with this work, so. The first 2 vendors are experienced with point repairs, and this one is getting into the mix, so numbers are high, and as they
Looking to
bid
make a
more,
lot of money.
they're finding, well. The next resolution is Resolution R027-2023. This is the award of contract 1447, which is the modification to the boiler house fan. This is 1 bid was received by Walter J. Barnes Electric in the amount of $1,127,000. This contract is, we're modifying the boiler room fans. This contract is also associated with the ongoing work with the West Power Complex. So we're upgrading the fans from 3,300 to 480 volts, and then we can get rid of these old 60-year transformers, and that's what this contract would do. So it's all, although it's not part of the West Power Complex, but it's actually associated with that, so we can move function. So the General Superintendent's Office is requesting acceptance of this bid for contract 1447. The next resolution it's another award. It's Resolution R029-2023. This is the award of contract 1415. It's Carrollton Water Purification Plant, West Power Complex Foundations, and Utilities. This is our second major contract associated with the power complex, associated with the civil side of it. Many of the contracts earlier, 1418 was the utility rack. This is the one following that. It's the foundation work, the underground utility work associated with the static frequency converters, those equipment themselves. The lowest responsive responsive bid was determined to be MR Pittman Group LLC with a total base bid of $33,622,255. Let's see, the next resolution. First renewal, Resolution R030-2023. This is another first renewal of contract 8168, and again, it's another repaving contract we have, repaving open cuts and driveways and sidewalks resulting from sewage and water board to underground utility repairs. This contract was entered in November of last year. Just to note, we actually worked and asked the contractor if he can bump up his forces because of our outstanding backlog on paving cuts. And this contractor did work with SWBNO and our crews to add additional forces to his staff in order to reduce the number of our unpaved surface cuts. So hence, this first renewal this year we're going to execute this renewal early so we can continue that pace of executing the outstanding backlog. This renewal is in the amount of $1,596,000, and the contractor desires to execute this renewal. I will note on the 6, there's a typo. I just want to, for the board, that that whereas is whereas Wallace C. Drennan should be CMG Pipelines. I just want to note that, I just saw that here, that needs to be corrected to the correct vendor. So the General Superintendent's Office is recommending approval of this renewal, and in that the last therefore has the, if you go to the next page, has the correct vendor's name in there, CMG Pipelines Incorporated, the first renewal for contract 8168. So we will contract that. Yes, sir.
Ron, what's the difference between R014 and R030?
They're just two separate contracts we
It's
did.
two separate.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One was
By
yeah,
design,
by
because
design.
we wanted to increase capacity
Okay,
so
that's
we can
correct.
catch up with the backlog for repairs, so.
Right.
Yeah.
And 014 had a higher contract value than this one. Right. Okay. And the last resolution under the contract and award section is the award, is resolution R031-2023. That's furnishing sodium hypochlorite. That's also another chemical that's used within a water treatment process. One bid was received on February 27, 2023 by DPC Enterprises LLC in the amount of $4,553,400. And the board is recommending, the General Superintendent's Office is recommending approval of the award to DPC Enterprises for this contract. That completes the contract renewal and awards section of the action items.
We have a motion to approve the following contract award renewals resolutions: R42, 2023, R14, 2023, R15, 2023, R17, 2023, R24, 2023, R27, 2023, R29, 2023, R30, 2023, and R31, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
It sounds
Moves
like the lottery.
What's that?
Sounds like the lottery.
Ran out of breath on the thing, too. Is there any discussion on these matters? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mouthful.
Okay, the next section, we have contract change orders. There are two contract change orders. I'd like to take those in global. The first one is Resolution R023, 2023, and I note this has to be mistakenly left off resolution number on this one, so we'll make that correction, as you can see up there. This is ratification of change order number 9, contract 3799, which is the installation of sludge dryer at the East Bank Wastewater Treatment Plant. As you're aware, during Hurricane Ida, a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, is that the sludge dryer was damaged during that storm, and this change order 9 is for the contractor, and it's really a contract timing and labor and equipment contract to support SWBNO and assistance in the sludge dryer startup and commissioning from the storm, which was delayed by Hurricane Ida. This contract number 9 is in the amount of $34,686.87. The next change order is Resolution R028, 2023, and that is the ratification of change order number 12 for contract 1377, which is our water hammer hazard mitigation program, the Claiborne Avenue pumping station and off-site improvements where we are upgrading and modernizing our Claiborne Avenue pumping station. This change order number 12 is associated with unforeseen conditions that were encountered in the field, and if we can go to the third page, that second to last whereas pretty much it was conflicts found with the drainage system when rebuilding Claiborne Avenue, so we had to do some modifications to the drainage system, and we also had to redesign a portion of 12-inch water line because of an unforeseen conflict with a large 72-inch drain line. That is the bulk of this change order. This change order is in the amount of $148,760.81, which is about 0.4% of the original contract value. And that
We,
completes the change order section.
I'm sorry, thank you. May we have a motion to approve change order resolutions R 023, 2023, and 028, 2023?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor, please so signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Bringing us to contract amendments.
Contract amendments, we have 12 contract amendments. The bulk of those are no-cost time extensions amendments. The first resolution is R 025, 2023. That's authorization of amendment number 5 to the professional services agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Jacobs Engineering Group for engineering services for power frequency converter at the Carrollton Water Plant. Just want to note this amendment, when we first, this resolution, this contract is for Jacobs Engineering associated with the static frequency converter in conjunction with the Carrollton Water Plant. And we just want to note that we indicated earlier on in the fourth whereas that that original cost was associated with the phase 1 of the project, and the next whereas, and then as we moved on to the project, within the project with design, there were additional, we come back to the board for additional costs as we move on. This amendment 5 is associated with, if you go to the next page, I just also want to note that Jacobs Engineering, right now we have 19 contracts associated with West Power Complex, and the engineer record is actually responsible for 11 of the 19 contracts in the power contracts. This amendment, number 5, the bulk of the cost in the amount of $8,230,660 is an expansion of phase 2 services in where we are now. And part of that is with the construction administration and commissioning startup support associated with the contracts under Jacobs jurisdiction on the West Power Complex. Some of the previous amendment was mainly with design and plans and specs. Now we're into the construction mode, and we have construction inspection administration, commissioning startup activities are starting. This amount is over a 3-year period. So there's $8.23 million will carry us, it's estimated to carry us through the end of December of 2025 for this program, and we're asking for approval of amendment number 5. The second resolution is resolution R 026, 2023, and this is a ratification of amendment number 2 for professional services agreement with Ecologics LLC for leak detection and fire flow testing services. So again, the original contract was for 1 year with 2 1-year renewal terms at the option of the board. This is the ratification of the second for the contractor to exercise the second option year, not to exceed $960,000. And this contract is used exclusively in conjunction with our crews, but also with the JIR program, the waterline replacement program, assisting our crews with valve closures and the other activities so we can stay on schedule with DPW. That's that resolution. The next 8 or 9 items, I'd like to say, are no cost extension only resolutions. So the first one is R 032, 2023. It's authorization amendment number 7 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Black and Veatch Corporation for design and engineering services for the waterline replacement program. And I would ask Ms. Danielle to go to the second page. As you can see, that last whereas is that this amendment 7 will extend the contract end date to May 9th of 2026, and we added some time for a closeout period solely based upon the updated contract project schedule from DPW. So we are working in conjunction with DPW, and as they shift their schedule, we'd have to shift our schedule because we're coordinating with that. So that's this first resolution, Amendment 7 to that date of May 9th of 2026. The next resolution of R33, and I'll just read the title, is authorization of amendment number 9 to the agreement between Sewage and Water of New Orleans and Design Engineering Incorporated for design and engineering services for the waterline replacement program. And that second page, the Last whereas, we're extending this contract to May 21st of 2026, as reflected in the JIR construction project schedule. The next resolution is Resolution R034, authorization of amendment number 6 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and ECM Consultants Incorporated for design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. That second page, this amendment, number 6, will extend the contract to February of 2026 based upon the latest DPW schedule. Next resolution is R035, 2023. Authorization of Amendment 7 to the agreement between Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Hartman Engineering for the design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. And again, Amendment number 7 extends the contract end date to August 28th of 2026. All right, and Resolution R036, it's Amendment number 6 to the agreement between Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Integrated Logistical Support Incorporated for the design and engineering services of the water line replacement program. Next page, and again, this Amendment number 6 extends the contract end date to May 21, 2026. The next resolution is R037, 2023, authorization of amendment number 9 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Neil Schaefer Incorporated, again, for the design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. Next page, amendment, the last whereas, Amendment 9, we're extending this contract to March 4th of 2026. Next resolution is R038, 2023, authorization of amendment number 4 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and NOI Associates Incorporated for the design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. And again, as you see there, the amendment number 4 will extend this contract to February 20th, 2025. And resolution R039, authorization of amendment number 9 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Ramona Associates Incorporated for engineering and design services associated with the water line replacement program. Next page, and again, this amendment 9 will extend this contract end date to May 21st of 2026. Resolution 40, it is an extension, but not associated with the water line replacement program, so it is the authorization of Amendment 1 to the agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and Jacobs Engineering Group for the design and construction administration for the new turbine generator at the Carrollton Water Plant. This is a separate contract Jacobs has for turbine number 7, and we are extending this contract end date, no cost, based upon the schedule, the updated schedule of the power complex to March 31st of 2025. And the last resolution is resolution R041. This is actually adding costs to this resolution associated with R041 2023. Again, it's the authorization of amendment number 13 to the professional services agreement between the Sewage and Water Board of New Orleans and MWH America's predecessor in the interest to Stantec Consulting Services Incorporated for the design and engineering services for the water line replacement program. And if you can go to that third sheet, that last whereas, this is the design working associated with Department of Public Works, but this increase of fees, we negotiated fees of basic service associated with the resident inspection with the resident inspection services associated with 9 RR projects or neighborhoods as defined by the Department of Public Works. We're responsible for the design of the water and the sewer on these projects, and we'll do the resident inspection. That's this amount, this increase in the amount of this amendment in the amount of $1,582,844.50 will allow the contractor to perform construction, administration, and resident inspection services on these 9 RR projects administered by DPW. And that completes the amendments section.
Thank you. It occurs to me, we didn't meet in February, which is why we have an awful lot to cover today, but maybe we shouldn't skip any more meetings. Bringing us, we have 12 contract amendments we'll take in Globo. May we have a motion to approve the following contract amendment resolutions? R25, 2023, R26, 2023, R32, 2023, R33, 2023, R34, 2023, R35, 2023, R36, 2023, R37, 2023, R38, 2023, R39, 2023, R40, 2023, and R41, 2023.
So,
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second?
Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment, Chair.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Ron. And,
Can I say something?
yes,
I just want to say it was so much easier to understand what we were doing today, thanks to your presentations yesterday. Really appreciated that.
and Janet, I was gonna say, anybody who, which most people were not at the operations meeting yesterday, was excellent, explanation, very cogent and comforting of our change order process. So I'd encourage any directors who would like to see that to figure out a way to do that. I guess they can call you, Ron, and figure it out, but it was a great presentation and clarified things.
and I asked Danielle to send that presentation to everybody.
Yeah, it was a very clear
Yeah.
explanation.
That flow chart was, anyway. Okay, I would now like to entertain a motion to enter executive session pursuant to Louisiana Revised Statute 4217A2 to discuss strategy with respect to prospective litigation regarding collection of unpaid commercial and multifamily accounts. Seconded, all in favor? Aye. Motion carries. We're in executive session, so thanks, everybody.